We're all eyeballing who Portland will take 2 weeks from today with the 11th overall pick in the draft. Will they take somebody? Will they trade the pick? Who knows? But joining us now to talk about one of those prospects is Ben Bagley, at Ben Bags on Twitter. You go give him a follow. He's a sports producer for BYU TV. Let me just start with the first question of, is this correct? Egor Demin? Am I saying that properly?
Egor Demin.
Okay. All right.
Demin, very easy. By the way, before we get to Egor, let's talk about Randy Moss.
Yeah.
I remember him in the Raiders when he was a shadow of what he was when he left the Raiders and went to the Patriots. As a Raiders fan, I was not very happy about it.
All-time hate Randy Moss guy. Absolutely. If you're a Raider fan, you cannot
I love
like
Randy Moss. I just hated the stint with the Raiders.
Yeah, it was not good when he was with the Raiders. It also did you remember him as a Tennessee Titan?
Not until you said it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
6 catches for 80 yards in 8 games.
He played for 3 different teams
That's
in 2010, New England, Minnesota, and Tennessee. That he did not play in 2011, then he came back in 2012.
He was good with the Niners. He was an okay player with the Niners.
He had like 400 receiving yards on the year.
It's better than what he did in Tennessee.
That is true. So we're looking for Portland and who they're going to take with the 11th overall pick. This name continues to come up. We remember watching him in the tournament run, 6'9". What do we know? What do we like about Egor and his prospects going into the NBA?
He is a freak as far as you mentioned. He's 6'9", but he's a point guard. This guy has the best passing skills in the NBA draft this year at 6'9". He's the Russian version of what Magic Johnson was in the 80s. His court vision is amazing. It was kind of interesting watching him play here at BYU last year. I covered the NBA with Utah Jazz for 15 years, way back when. And just his court vision was such that, like, he saw stuff that his teammates didn't see. And it resulted in a lot of turnovers early on as they were getting used to what he was seeing that they weren't realizing, because he'd throw the ball and they'd either have their head turned or weren't quite getting to the spot that he saw open up. And so early in the season, it took a lot of kind of growth process of him getting used to his teammates and his teammates getting used to his vision. But he sees things on the court and is able to make the passes that you don't expect a 19-year-old to make at 6'9". Now, the downside of that, at least at the BYU and the college level, is sometimes he was a little overconfident in what he saw. And so not every turnover he created this season was based off of making a pass his teammate didn't see was there. Some of it was making a pass that he may have thought was there but wasn't actually there. But those weren't he made more spectacular passes and plays with his passing ability than he did errors on that end.
He's very young. What do we know about his background? You say he sounds like he's very polished. Obviously, the way that basketball operates in other countries very different than what we have in America. What is the background of Egor and how he became what you already claim is kind of a Magic Johnson-esque type player with passing at that kind of size? What's his background?
Yeah, just court vision with the size. I'm not comparing him to Magic Johnson.
Sure,
I love his NBA camps, Magic Johnson. Whoa, Portland Trailblazers fans are going crazy. Yeah, we want him. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the vision's there.
Yes.
His background, obviously coming out of Russia, he left Russia at a very young age, like 14 years old to go play, 14, 15 years old to go play pro basketball in Spain with Real Madrid. Played a few years pro with Real Madrid at their different levels, and then decided he wanted to get a college experience. And Kevin Young, who took over BYU last year from the Phoenix Suns, hadn't heard of him, and some of the guys that Kevin brought with him had heard of him, and he kind of reached out, and they got connected, and he ended up here at BYU for a year, and really. And that's one thing that no matter where this kid goes in the NBA, and I think for Portland, especially in a market like Portland, which is a lot like Salt Lake, which is a small market, and your fans fall in love with these guys because it is it's the only show in town. And Egor is a guy who fans will absolutely love. His personality, kind of the way he goes about life. He really embraced the BYU and the Provo community when he was here. And just fans fell in love with him, and he's a guy who kind of thrives off of that. So his background is he's played professional at the Real Madrid level. He played high-level basketball, helping lead the Cougars into a Sweet 16 run last year. I think this is a guy that any team in the lottery is going to really enjoy getting their hands on.
Well, I know this is always a tough thing to answer. We're talking with Ben Bagley, by the way, BYU TV at Ben Bags on Twitter about Egor Demin, who the Blazers might be taking with the 11th overall pick. It's such an inaccurate science, and nobody has any clue, right? There's been great players drafted 11th overall. The guy who's going to win the MVP or already won the MVP this year in the NBA was 11th overall pick, and other guys who have been forgotten and turned into nothing. When you look at him, you mentioned the strengths and weaknesses that he's bringing to the table. I think the hard thing that some Blazer fans might have is, they took a big step this past season to the chagrin of some who wanted a higher draft pick and a better lottery odds. But they took a step, and it's like, well, now we're kind of encroaching on this. Are you pushing for a play-in situation? Could you be a playoff team in the next year or two? How many years do you think it takes? I mean, he's 19, just turned 19 years old in March. I think he's going to be 19 for the majority of his rookie season. How long until you see him being an impact NBA player based on the traits that he's bringing to the table?
That's a great question, and if I had that answer, I would probably be working in a front office someplace. It's tough to say. I think he's ready to come in. Having covered the league for a while, I think he can come in his rookie season and give you 8 to 15 really productive minutes. Will his numbers probably blow you away? No. But if he gets in that back end of an 8-man rotation as a 19-year-old rookie, as kind of a late lottery pick, that's a win. I mean, you guys cover it with the Blazers. The NBA draft is such a crapshoot, and you get guys who are high lottery picks who are out of the league in 2 years, and those guys are more abundant than the guys that get in and become NBA All-Stars or All-Pros. So when you get to the back half of the lottery, it is. I mean, you get some nuggets, but there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't translate at times. But having had the experience at a pro level, granted Real Madrid, not an NBA level, I think kind of gives him a leg up there. And I think his size is a great asset. His length at 6'9", playing a guard position with his being able to ball handle and pass. I think that kind of gives him a leg up to where he's a kid who's going to translate. I think I've seen a lot of NBA comps of Josh Giddey, and I was just looking at Josh Giddey's stats because I'm just like, I don't know if I like that. I look at his stats, and Giddey's averaging 15 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists at 47% shooting. I mean, I think Egor could do that. I think he could do that eventually in 3 years. And if he can do that in 3 years and you're getting him there in the 10 to 14 pick in the NBA draft, that's a win.
You've mentioned point guard-esque. I want to ask kind of about his season at BYU. The fan thing, absolutely. They love him. The staff sounds like they loved him. They had a nice season as a program. Positionally, though, you kind of struck something with me. Point guard. You keep saying point guard. He's got passing ability, right, with that kind of size.
Yep.
How is he off ball versus do you think in the NBA he's more of a point guard traditionally, or is he a combo guy because he knows how to play basketball the way they play in Spain?
I think he can be a combo guy, but I think he is a point guard. I really do think he's a point guard. BYU ran their offense through him. They had Dallin Hall here, who was a 2-year starter at point guard, and Egor came in and took that spot, and Dallin Hall backed up Egor at the point for the majority, if not all, the season. He is a point guard in a 6'9" body, and that's what makes him special. As far as him playing a combo, sure he could, but the biggest question with Egor coming into the NBA draft is his consistency in shooting. So if you're gonna take away his biggest strength, which is the court vision passing, and you're gonna kind of lean into kind of the weakness of shooting, he shot 41% last year in college. And that was the question going in the draft combine. And all of a sudden, all these videos come out. Oh, he hit 13 threes in a row, and he's improved his shooting against air. So, like, what does that really tell you? You don't know. But, I mean, we spoke to Egor a couple of weeks ago on our show, and he's like, the focus has been, I'm going to be a more consistent shooter. I'm going to be a better shooter. That's one of his big focuses going into the draft. And I think getting some coaching, that shooting can improve. But I don't know why, if you're an NBA team and you're drafting this kid for what he's great at, which is the court vision and the passing, I don't know why you would kind of like, okay, let's make him a combo guard and take half of the best part of his game away from him.
Yeah, it's like watching quarterbacks at their pro days in shorts and T-shirts throwing balls, and everybody's like, God, what an incredible throw. It's like, yeah, there's no pass rush. He's not wearing any pads, no helmets on.
Yeah, but Dirt, point guard?
Yeah.
We got a few of those.
We got a lot of those here.
and,
We got maybe not. We'll see how the next couple of weeks go. Great stuff and insight. Ben Bagley at Ben Bags on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Producer for BYU TV. Ben, thanks so much for the time, man. We appreciate it, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Yeah, we'll be talking Portland State BYU to open the college football
There we
season
go.
later on.
There we
I
go.
I thought we'd get some questions on that.
We'll hold those for August. When we have you back on in August, we'll get that
0-week
game breakdown,
conversations.
okay?
All right, guys. Take care.
There you go. Ben Bagley covering BYU. Egor Demin, how do we feel?
Point guard.
6'9" point guard.
Look, I'm not mad at having a player like this, 6'9", with great vision. He classifies it as the best passing player in the draft, the size, the age. Like, he's selling me on a lot. He's a fan favorite. He's got a ton of pro experience with his background. He played in Spain at the age of 14. You're not making that pick unless you're moving certain things around, because you made a pick 2 years ago at number 3 that was that same position.
Yeah, they did.
So what if they saw Denny and they're like, what if we just had a taller Denny running the offense?
Yeah, the off-the-ball stuff to me is a little concerning there. And again, he's 19 years old.
We
right?
also don't know what they're going to do this
clue.
offseason. Like,
no,
what
we
if
don't.
They do trade Scoot, and then we know Ant can be kind of a 2-guard because that's
play
more
off
his
the ball.
game than it is point guard.
Yeah, he can play off the ball. There's no doubt about that. I think considering a lot of it depends on what your bigger picture is, and that's why it'll be great to know and maybe get some insight in the next 2 weeks about what they're thinking, and maybe we won't have any insight. They'll just draft a guy, and we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the offseason goes. He's 19 years old. There's a lot of room to grow and develop. These are all raw prospects, and you're not sure how their careers are going to turn out. But the lack of shooting and off-the-ball stuff is a little concerning, at least early in his career, because guys playing on the ball is not something you need, at least with the roster construction right now. That was great stuff from Ben Bagley. We'll continue to do those over the next 2 weeks as we get closer to the NBA draft, man. It'll be here before we know it.